Welcome to the Gransberry Chronicles weekly pick'em. It's week 12. It's turkey week. And there's a turkey on the show today. He's in last place. We won't say who he is just yet because I'm so glad I have everybody tonight. We should have some good times, some fun. Look, guys, we know who stays in last place, but I have to remind you every time we start the show. And tonight he's down at the bottom because that's where he belongs, at the bottom. We got my co-host Beat Pat, and always in first place, we got my boy D Jones up top. And then we got Boss Cowboy in the house tonight. That's right. Man, straight out of D Town. Not much good I can say about D Town, but I won't go there tonight, Marcus. I won't go there tonight. Okay? No, well, I'm gonna go there, just not as much. But as always, we have some games we have to get out the way because we all know there's quite a few games this week that nobody really wants to talk about. And like I always remind you, it will never be the Texans in a get them out the way game. So get over it. Don't think about it. Don't dream about it. It ain't happening. So D Jones, take us to the games we want to get out the way.
All right, this week's get them out the way picks are we all picked the Vegas Raiders to take out Atlanta. We all picked Buffalo to beat the Chargers. We all picked the Giants to beat Cincinnati. We excuse me. B Pat went solo and picked New England over Arizona. We all picked Miami to beat the Jets. B Pat again went solo and shocked the world and picked Jacksonville to take out Cleveland. We all picked New Orleans over Denver, and we all picked the Rams to take out San Francisco and Green Bay to beat Chicago. That's this week's Get 'em Out the Way picks. Back to you, Gransberry.
Now look, not to be funny, but earlier when we were talking about our picks, I have to call him out again. There was a delay when we asked B Pat his pick on the Green Bay game. Now look, I know Green Bay lost a tough one last week, but don't be foolish now. Let's not be foolish. That's not even taking chances.
No.
But let's head into a game where it looks like somebody been taking chances outside the stadium because Baltimore and Pittsburgh have been delayed till Sunday due to COVID. We hope everybody is well, of course, but let's get this pick out the way because I still feel like Steelers are on the road to stay undefeated. D Jones?
Yeah, I'm agreeing with you 100% here. Baltimore has been struggling, and to add to that, their top two running backs both get positive COVID tests. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Pittsburgh to stay undefeated. Coach, what you say?
Pittsburgh's gonna go undefeated. Baltimore, I don't think they really won a game against somebody that actually had a winning record. And their COVID testing, they're gonna miss some key players.
Yeah, see, I agree with B Pat is saying about, Baltimore and they haven't beat anybody, but I don't like to focus on that as much. And one of the reasons I try not to do that is because every year a team may have a easier schedule based on the matchups at the time and who's just having a bad season. I think the other issue for us is we don't know who Baltimore is anymore. Like we used to look forward every week to basically say, how will Lamar run all over them? Who
Yeah.
will contain Lamar? And now when we prepare for a game with Baltimore, we're so unsure of their position. So that's just not what I think is going forward. But Boss Cowboy, tell us who you going with this week.
I mean, that's a hard one, mainly because that's a major rivalry, right?
Right.
And like with all of our rivalries, mixed with the so-called any given Sunday, that is really any given Sunday with those two. And some of these picks, I swear, I didn't talk to y'all at all about y'all get them out the way picks, but I promise I got 90% of what y'all came out with.
Yeah.
But this one is a straight up coin flip. Like, we can talk matchups. I heard you, D Jones, talk running backs and COVID. With this team, is who telling. And Pitt bet not, even though they're at home, they bet not come in like, yeah, we undefeated.
Yeah.
Not with Lamar, because see, it depends on which Lamar show up. See, angry Lamar can do something, and I know it's a lot of people that's against him right now for whatever reason, and to me it's crazy. But
They
I'm
not on
going
this
with
show.
Pitt. Yeah, not on this too much good football knowledge on this show, but I'm going with Pitt too because it's also a king matchup in my opinion between two great coaches. Like they are two very underrated coaches. So it's one of those things. I'm going with Pitt because I like the overall team. I like the overall better quarterback play coming from Ben right now. The swag, the balance of Pitt, knowing how to win. Coach Tomlin is literally should be now really kind of starting to get in the best category, like top 5 ever. Like you really got to start saying that now. I got to go with Pitt though.
I like that summary, and I think it was one thing we all didn't mention was you right, like the rivalry. But last time Lamar had quite a few turnovers, which I don't think will be repeated.
Yeah.
There was, an abundance of that, and so it was still close.
Well,
even
that's what
with
that's what Pitt do though. Pitt turned that ball over though.
Correct. But even with that, they were still in the game.
Yeah.
So
I agree with you there.
I look for some different matchups. But now we head on over to the AFC South. And this matchup is a rematch that they've already played once this season. It's Tennessee versus Indy. And what's interesting is they both had to pull out some wins this past weekend. And so now they have to take that fight to each other to try to see who will be at the top of the AFC South. We haven't said that in some years that it didn't include the Texans. But we're gonna keep it going. Always. But I digress. But this was a close pick for game of the week. But because of division rivals, we're looking at what will be the most dynamic change. So we know the winner of that game will be the division lead. So guys, I'm gonna go with you first, B Pat, because you like to usually pick the Colts. Let's see what you have to say tonight. I guess he's not gonna say much. So D Jones, tell me what you gonna say. He ran away from that. So D Jones.
Yeah. So this one, you could kind of repeat everything we just said.
Right, what Boss Cowboy said, just switch divisions.
Yeah, you just switching teams. So you got another, rivalry. You got another interdivision matchup that they know each other very well. You got a great running game on one side. Tennessee, actually, we've had this game as game of the week before, just like we had the previous game as game of the week, the previous matchup as game of the week. Tennessee did okay the first matchup, but Indy took it to them in Tennessee. Now Indy's at home. I expect Tennessee to actually bring the fight on the road, but I'm going to go with the home team here. They are favored by 3 points. I think they're rolling after what they did to my Packers. But, we're not going to talk about that. But, yeah, we're just going to go with the home team, and I think Phillip will do what he needs to do on this one. What you say, Marcus? Boss.
Yeah, I'm going with Indy too. This is just like almost exactly the same back and forth of the Pitt versus the Ravens. But I'm going with you, though, with the Colts. And the fact that they're playing hot, I'm a low-key believer in the Colts. I think they're really almost a quarterback away from being a major contender. I don't believe in Rivers, but I think they put everything around him.
That defense, man. That defense
is, and it don't take much for them to go. I love Pittman. I think Pittman was an absolute steal at receiver, and he's just starting to really get going coming off his injury. I believe in the Colts. I think the Colts is a sleeper team that's actually a sleeper team, contender team, in my opinion. So I'm going with the Colts on this one. I think they're coached well. I think they play extremely tough. They got extreme moxie, great defensive coaching. It's not even just the talent, it's the coaching because Ebel was one of our guys. I know him quite well. Like I know the fact that, and when I say our guys, You know,
We got you.
I almost removed you from the
I gotta
screen.
be real clear. Even though it's in everybody's face, I gotta, put a little bit more.
You gotta
into the
you
thing,
gotta
know what I'm saying?
separate. You gotta separate. Okay, it's separation.
And
Okay.
I wouldn't be being me if I didn't find a way to kind of, But anyway, no, but that matchup is really probably going to be the most competitive, nastiest game. But even over the Ravens and Pitt.
Yeah.
They're going to be at each other just as hard. Like, these are like the go-to games. I'm definitely going to be back and forth on these, but I definitely side with the Colts.
Now, B. Pat, I'm gonna give you one more chance to talk about your favorite little AFC team, the Colts. When you're talking about picking opponents, so are you picking for the Colts or against the Colts?
B don't want to
I'm
join
going
So
today.
See,
he going Tennessee, and while he figure out what he gonna do, we heard him right. He said
Yeah.
he going Tennessee.
It's locked in.
So
It's
it's
locked
locked in. It's in public on the record.
It's
now
on the
look,
record.
I'm actually going Indy mainly because of two big points that Boss Cowboy made, which is the coaching on defense
Yep.
to strategize against the Titans. I think they have the advantage in Indy on that. They're getting some exceptional play out of special teams, which is usually hard consistently, but they're consistently getting it. And then the biggest thing is I am never a believer in Rivers. I've said it several times. This is like a reinvention in the AFC South of the year of Bortles in Jacksonville. The defense was powerful. They were on a roll every week. You were trying to see how many INTs with the Jags defense pick up. You had top corner play. You had exceptional blocking of punch. You just had all this incredible defense. And then you had this lackluster quarterback that you just gave enough plays to hold on to the ball. We could give Tannehill credit that he's much better with play action. We're not, pushing him or propelling him into our top 10 QB list. But Rivers is like, stick to the lakes and rivers that you used to. He's just in the middle. He's just right in the middle. So my issue with that is if he goes one way too far the other way, he kills the game. And so at that point, better coaching overall, back to Boss Cowboy, leads to the Indy. So for that, I'm sticking with Indy. We're going to move on to the next game. We may move on to adding Brandon back. Brandon having a rough night. So shout out to Brandon because Coach Pat was supposed to go to Denver. He might have should have took that elevation so he could have performed better tonight on this show because we're not going to keep making your picks for you, Brandon. But D. Jones might have your back because people in last just, go out with the trash. But anyway, moving on to the next game. It's Kansas City versus Tampa Bay. Now, B. Pat, I know you heard me. So you want to give me your pick on this KC versus Tampa Bay matchup?
Kansas City.
Keep it short and quick.
That's it.
All right, that's it.
I was saying Kansas City. I mean, it's Brady can't throw a deep. No, I'm just saying Brady can't throw a deep pass, and Mahomes is ready to catch his stride. Kansas City.
You say he can't throw a deep pass, or his deep pass is just falling short?
Brady is 1 for 9 and has been 1 for 9 the last couple of games in deep passes, and he hasn't been able to do anything from that standpoint. So I'm just gonna go ahead and go with Kansas City because Kansas City is ready to make a push for the playoffs now.
G. Jones, you seem like you're holding in over there. Tell me what you're thinking.
Kansas City defense to me is taking a step backwards. So I think last year they kind of outplayed themselves, if you ask me. But you can stay in the game with Kansas City if you got a decent offense. And I think Tampa Bay has more than a decent offense. Whether Brady can throw 40 yards or 20 yards, it really doesn't matter. Bruce is going to scheme this game right. But I'm not picking Tampa Bay. I'm picking Kansas City to come through. In the end, they're a 3.5-point road dog. I think this will be a competitive game, but I wouldn't bet against Andy Reid. That's just Andy's my guy, and they got too many weapons over there. I think in the end they'll make less mistakes than Tampa Bay's defense will. So I'm going with Kansas City to win, but I think it'll be a close game. What you think about it, boss?
Well, Kansas City got a big target on their back, man. Like whenever you
Okay.
coming off them Super Bowls, you the you the team that everybody circle on their calendar, right? And coming off that game that Brady just lost in, and the way that they lost, I think Tampa's go get Kansas City. I think this is. I just really feel like it's gonna happen. I think they're not gonna have two bad performances back to back. That's generally not even Brady's style of football, to where if he has a bad game, he usually epically rebounds and epically studies, comes back epically prepared. I think they're still gelling as well, having new weapons like AB and stuff like that. I think all of that's going to start coming together at the right time, and I think it's going to be this game. I'm not a super believer in the Kansas City Magic at all. I think any team, not any team, but they can be knocked off. And I think people have figured out the formula that works best to limit them. They've been running a lot of zones against them because their coaching will pick apart any kind of man concept. So people have been basically abandoned a bend don't break style, which they learned from Belichick when they're trying to counter Kansas City. And I think this chess match is going to line up for Tampa this time. I just think they're going to come out with that big target on them. They're going to play extreme football. And I think they go at their superstar this time, which they should have did, in my opinion, last time. Um, the receiver,
Who you calling the superstar?
13. I don't even want to call his name.
Oh, you know his name.
No, I don't know his name.
I just was wondering if you wanted to say it.
You know his name, Michael.
No.
His mama probably named him Michael,
I still
Yeah,
do.
don't
but
say
they
Mike.
call him Mike.
Yeah, because I was
Be
thinking
sure.
about him the other day. Like, people don't really give him credit. He's truly, really, if you look at him statistically, you look at him consistently, he is truly a top three receiver. He's not even top five. He's easily top three and still under targeted, in my opinion. Like, to me,
I think
that's the
that's
guy
why he
you
don't
should.
get it.
Yeah, he's gonna be, to me, the key to the game. I think they finally figured that out and stopped being so share friendly. Sometimes you got to force feed your guy. When
Or
you
the guy
make
that makes it work, right?
yeah, you got to sometimes force feed that guy, and it's not too many guys that will ever be built like him.
That's true.
Julio and him, that route runners that are big, that's an anomaly. That's a once every 10-year type. So
Correct.
I just think that I think this is the time. Just, I could be totally wrong because this is also a coin flip game. The wind can blow and this could totally change between both of these teams. But at the same time, I'm going with I think Tampa coming out with that target. They go play real hard and fast, and they go play up to that talent level because they are talented as a team. I think gelling on paper is kind of taking a little while.
With the way with Kansas City, the way they just played the Raiders, and that game was extremely close. I mean, I know it was a division game, but back to what you talked about with coaching and figuring them out. The Raiders have definitely this year played Kansas City better than they did the last 2 years with Mahomes under center. And so with that, I know they improved in talent as well, but still they have definitely figured out their best approach to staying competitively in the games. Because originally, every week we were basically checking the highlights to see if Mahomes would get 5 or 4 touchdowns. It was like a bet. How many would he get per
Right.
game? Because
Not
they
like
were
that.
just
Right.
striking. For obvious reasons, I've never been a Brady supporter. Not a Brady hater, just not a Brady supporter because we're in the AFC. So
Right.
I mean, it was what it was. But in
Yeah.
saying that Brady that was in the AFC is not that Brady that's in Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
That is pretty clear. Whether
Yeah.
if you focusing on Bruce or not, that is pretty clear. That is not the same Brady. Now that post game
Yep.
acting
That's the same
is
Brady.
the same. That's the same Brady. But
Wow.
I am like in a corn flip myself, boss
Yeah.
Cowboy, about
Yeah.
this game. I'm surprised that Coach Pat didn't pick Brady because he says when Brady plays bad, he said the exact same thing you said. I just think that this time it's another talented matchup. And so I believe that even though they are not a fearful team this year, I think that they're playing much better as a team, Kansas City. So that's going to be my
Good
reason
point.
for picking Kansas City.
Good point.
So
Yeah.
we are ready to get down to our last two. I'm going to start smiling because whenever I start smiling, that means we're going to talk about the
The
Texans.
Texans.
I know you don't want to hear it, Boss Cowboy, but
No,
look.
I'm cool. I'm cool.
But
I'm
look,
cool,
but
I'm
this
cool,
is
I'm
how
cool.
we'll approach it, right? We're
No,
going to
I'm
talk
cool.
about
I'm cool.
Deshaun.
Yeah.
Deshaun is having a remarkable season. Unfortunately, it is not reflective in wins and losses, but nonetheless, he earned the check. Nobody's talking about the check because the check is cashing and the guy cashing it is performing it on the field. And so I just want to give a shout out to that AFC player, offensive player of the week, because that's right. It was DW4. Easy. I think when the game was over, everybody already knew that it was going to take a top performance the rest of the day in order to steal that from him. Now, we are back in Detroit, and I'm going to spend a little time sharing with our audience that's watching and that may later listen. You know, this was a trip 8 years ago that the Texans made to Detroit on Thanksgiving Day. I had the pleasure of being there, and it was a remarkable game that turned into a battle of who can make a field goal in overtime. Of course, the Texans are the reason that the NFL had to change the rule on how you handle flags being able, it wasn't just the instant replay. You couldn't challenge it. The problem was it wasn't a challengeable issue at the time whether or not his knee was down, and because they did try to challenge it, they automatically lost and it stayed in. So
And
now
they got a flag.
and they got a flag. So now and lost more yardage on top of that. And so in that we ended up in overtime, and I'm gonna tell y'all that's like one of my top 3 road trips, and not because of the infamous touchdown issue, but it really was because I'll never forget. Shout out to the red, white, and blue road crew. That's my crew. We were in our end zone, and we missed the first field goal. So we didn't get to win because we missed the field goal at that time. And Detroit got all the way down the field, and they were in great position within the, to kick a decent field goal. And the whole row in front of us was just bragging. We're going to show you how to really kick a field goal. We're going to show you how to kick a field goal. And I won't name which members in my crew, but there was a few. They were too afraid to look. They had closed their eyes, sat down, and they was just like, no.
Man, you want to hear the crowd.
Yes. And I'm like, get your butt up. Get up and look at this head on. Why? Because we had gave up Thanksgiving with our families to go all the way to Detroit to see a national game, a history, something that doesn't happen. But if you lucky, because they have to pick the team to play against Detroit. Detroit gonna be there. We was honored to be there. So you gonna miss this monumental opportunity with your eyes closed? I'm gonna upload that video this week for you guys. You can hear me screaming, never, ever give up. Ever. And so Detroit kicks that field goal, and it's coming straight for us because we sitting in the end zone. We had great seats. We on row 5. We killing it, right? And that ball goes plunk and down. I know y'all know we won, but if you can live that moment, that is stuff that, look, I feel like I'm there right now. So I'm telling you, if you get moments like that, you have to take them. I know COVID kind of ruined that moment this year, but next year, get your opportunity in, take your road trip, pick your game, because I'm telling you, it will change you, win or loss. Nothing like it. Because I'm telling you, even before we won, that game felt good. Real good.
Man.
So, I know tomorrow you're going to have dressing and turkey. Some of you may have seafood. You may have gumbo. I really don't care what you're eating. But the first game is on, and as much as you have been complaining all week, all season about schedules and what teams are you don't want to see on Turkey Day, you're going to get this turkey. And that first turkey that you're going to receive is the Texans versus the Lions. And I am rolling with my team. I apologize to you last week for changing and going with the flow of who's better on paper. It hurt me. If you watch that show, it hurt me. I didn't even want to say it. It hurt me. But I apologize to you, okay? I'm going with the Texans on Turkey Day. Get your butt up in the morning because some of you may have breakfast ready. There's no restaurants open to get food that early, so you can start your day out with the Texans versus the Lions. And I'm done with my spiel about how I can't wait for tomorrow.
I mean, what a great memory, Lord. I had no kind of even recollection of that game, but you painted it so
I'm
well.
telling you,
I am
it was
committed
beautiful.
to traveling. I'm committed to traveling more.
And wait.
But you know, I ain't never ducking my head at no field goals, so you wouldn't have been talking to me.
Ever. And let me tell you, and then all the fans were so mad we couldn't even catch a cab because we had on Texans gear, so nobody would pick us up. We had to keep walking until we finally found somebody to pick us up. And I was detained by customs. And I got detained by customs. Now,
they were angry.
I tell you.
That's
okay.
Detroit.
I left with the win. Now, and I got to meet Gary Owen. But anyway, that's a different story. Now, D. Jones, who you picking tomorrow?
All right. So I'll admit, I'm one of those people. I won't duck my head, but I will turn my back and not watch the field goal if it's that intense. But that particular game, I probably wouldn't have. I'm not apologizing for last week, and neither should you, because they're not just a better team on paper. Our team had not shown that they can beat anybody that wasn't named Jacksonville Jaguars. But I said last week, until they beat somebody else, I wasn't picking them again. And now that they beat somebody else, I'm riding back with my Texans to take this game out over Detroit. And that's all I'm gonna say about that. Boss, I'm pass to you.
Yeah, man. Pepsi might pass. I gotta go with Detroit. Now, anything is super possible with Deshaun Watson at quarterback. He is a top 3 quarterback. He don't get enough credit for what he's already endured. I definitely know, being a Dallas Cowboy fan, how your quarterback can sometimes carry your coach, right? So the dysfunction and the bad line and his production, it's not even this epic year that he having where he obviously earned his money. But it's just also that just going into an organization where they just came out, where they said, Rick Smith said he was literally one of the only people that wanted him. So he walked into that much dysfunction and carried that franchise to the level that to where without him it's dead. So anything can happen, but I just think between two of these teams where they're struggling, where really they don't have as much to play for, but it's about how much you love the game, it's a very slight edge I'm giving Detroit. It's really only more so that they have the pride of being at home with another good quarterback. Is the only reason I'm kind of rocking with Detroit. It's nothing really more X's and O's as much as it is the pride of being at home, and it's going to be hard to beat Detroit in a different time zone, in just my opinion. I just think it's going to be but the only thing that can happen with the Texans is the Texans, even with this new coaching, even though I don't really think the coaching is elite, they play hard for them. And so with a game like that, I think it's going to be a competitive game, but I think Detroit squeak it out.
Fun fact, we're playing at the same time we already play anyway. It's just slightly earlier.
What time y'all playing?
11:30.
11:30. But so there is 12:30. So we play at noon anyway.
I mean, I would expect you to rock for your home team,
I just want to throw that fun fact. That's a fact. It's
nothing
about changing your pick.
I stand corrected on being an hour off, I promise you.
3-point favorites too on the road.
30 minutes. 30 minutes.
3-point road favorite.
I mean, I know, hey, like, listen.
Look, and I
Listen.
don't want to have to bring
Hey,
up that stat of how many
I'll-
times Detroit that lost that Thanksgiving Day game. But
And I'm glad y'all favored. You know, I'd rather go with Texas in my heart over outsiders. I've always rocked with that. And let's
Yes.
be personally beefing
that's
between
true.
Dallas
That's
and the
true.
Texans.
I can confirm that.
Yeah, I rocks Texas over everything. All Texas teams. This is just an analytical pick.
Correct.
And I think another underrated quarterback is Detroit quarterback. You say I don't like to say their names when I don't respect them. When I respect them, I don't live. I'm that competitive. I don't even want to say your name. I say it because he a Dallas boy. But Stafford underrated, like greatly underrated. Like even in 2016, you know, I know that he led the league in game-winning drives. That's hard as hell. Like I know people say because Dak did it a lot of times that's garbage time yards and that's stupid. But those of us who really like us on this podcast who understand the game, it's hard as hell to throw into a defense that know you got to throw.
No, you got to throw. Yeah.
So
You have no other option.
You got no other option.
In saying that, that's exactly what Watson did last week.
Exactly.
I mean,
Watson the man.
They couldn't throw. I mean, they couldn't run the ball. They couldn't throw it. They couldn't throw it. New England, they knew it. Oh man, they started dropping back 8-9 men back and still got off 300 over 330 yards. So I'm going with the Texans on this one as well because simply because I just don't trust Detroit. I mean, they barely beat the Falcons on a phantom, drive by Gurley or whatever score. And Matt Patricia's on his last days as well. So that's one thing these two teams are going to have in common. They might be looking for new coaches. So I'm just going to go ahead with Texans on that because Watson, I mean, his quarterback rating is now second all time in the history of ever since they kept the stats. So that's part of it. But it's not just that. I just think Watson he wants to will them to at least go on a 2, 3, 4 game winning streak before they even lose again.
And I would love it if we could just get, Boss Cowboy, you made the comment about not having anything to play for it. For every win we get, we push Miami further down in the first round pick.
Wow.
So
Wow.
I am here for every win we get because it's not just the
painful.
fact that we don't have the
It's gonna
picks,
be
it's
too
also to an AFC opponent. So you never want to strengthen another team within your conference.
Excellent point. Goddamn. Like
Yeah,
I didn't know you was gonna talk trigonometry up in here.
Man, I would have been.
Damn,
I would have been.
Well, my background is engineering, so
I see.
I'm gonna always stick to
I'm
the
over
numbers.
here checking, and you over here like,
Right.
boy, this chest, boy, you better stop. Stupid.
So
talk
I'm
you
gonna
on.
take that. I'm gonna take
That's
that.
And
excellent point. Excellent point. I can't fight it.
So, we picked game of the week this week. And, for game of the week, we decided to go with, Dallas versus the football team that's out of DC. And it's a very interesting concept with that name. I'm still kind of baffled a little bit. But, I want to make sure, boss, you're going to get all the time you want. You going last on this. The floor will be yours because I'm actually glad to have you. We've had our own dialogue within sports groups and we've never had the opportunity to actually discuss it in this form. And so what better way to celebrate your team on the most epic traditional game of the Dallas on Thanksgiving Day. And it's actually a tradition in my family. I have tons of family from Dallas, which you and I have discussed. I have a late aunt who would attend Super Bowls for Dallas. She's watched Dallas win Super Bowls, and she is a lover of, or she was a lover of, the Dallas team. I don't like to really call y'all by y'all name, kind of like you can't say my QB name. I really ain't too fond of saying your team name.
Yeah.
But even with that, I do respect tradition and history. And so it is still great to have that game tomorrow since we did lose one of the other matchups for Thanksgiving. Now, your division, everybody thinks this is supposed to be a wash game because you're getting the jokes of being the NFC least right now instead of the NFC East. But what I find great about this game is that you guys are all still stacked up on top of each other, and this is a very crucial game. Like, it's not a laxed Thanksgiving Day. This game matters. And so I believe that as much as I don't believe in who you have under center, that you can still pull out this win. And I'm having a tough time with
Yeah, it's a hard
Dallas.
one. This is
It's
a
a
hard.
hard one because Alex is like, he's got
Yeah,
that
T
yeah,
froze up on us.
yeah. Just to her point, and unless you want to say something, D Jones, real quick.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and get my pick in real quick, and then we'll go to Brandon, then we'll let you out the floor. I'm definitely picking Dallas on this one. Dallas is a 3-point favorite. I think last week it was good to see Zeke starting to get going with the running game. Definitely the difference a quarterback makes. Andy is no Dak, so still get the money ready for Dak. Back the truck up for Dak because Dak is who they need. But it was much better to see that offense with a capable quarterback get things going last week. So I think they continue to get things going. Washington, I just as much as the feel good story with Alex Smith is, I just don't trust them at all. I don't I don't think I've ever picked them all year, and I'm not going to start now. I think the Cowboys will definitely pull this through. Coach, what you say?
I'm going Cowboys by at least 10. Uh, if they just feed the beast and Zeke and Andy doesn't turn over the football, it's gonna be easy win easily. I like you said, I don't trust the whole Alex Smith phenomenon. I'm still a little salty. I'm not gonna lie. I'm still, D Jones, we talked about this. I'm still a little salty that they didn't give Haskins a full out chance. Uh
Yeah,
they had they had their they had
yeah,
their they had their mind made up in giving Kyle Allen the spot, and then Kyle Allen. Then they came up with a suspension for Haskins, and then here they come with Smith. Smith, I don't knock it. I'm glad he's back, but what I'm saying is I'm a little bit. I was disappointed in Coach Rivera in not giving Haskins a full out chance. Having
Yeah.
said that, Cowboys, their defense is starting to come back a little bit to the pack instead of being way down at the bottom. Their run defense has gotten a whole lot better. Kind of like with the Texans, something about these Texas teams in the run defense was trash. I know D Jones hates that word, but it was. And so I'm going
No,
with
I don't hate it when you talk
Cowboys.
about a unit. I don't call a man that, but
Yeah,
as a unit,
yeah,
you're right.
yeah, 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 yeah. The unit was basically trash, and but their defense, it looked like they went back to the drawing board. They're playing younger, and they're starting to fly around a little bit better. I think the Cowboys, honestly, I think they kind of smell blood now that you got the Eagles not taking the division by the horns. The Giants, they're the Giants, and the Cowboys can actually take this win the next one. And I think Andy's gonna have a solid game plan and feed the beast and Zeke. Boss Cowboy is yours.
uh, Dallas, I think, is gonna win, and I think a lot is happening for Dallas at the right time. Even though by record our division is horrid in terms of record, I think it's very bad wisdom to ever sleep on our division, because our division also has the most Super Bowls out of all divisions. And most of the times we've won those Super Bowls have come out of very stinky years. So, like, I know this from being obviously a diehard Dallas guy for my whole life, that we eat each other in this division. And I don't think at all that it's going to be an easy game. We beat up on each other bad all the time. Uh this is going to be a totally different matchup than the first time we faced them because we've made some chess moves that were great ones. Stuff that wouldn't have never happened under the Jason Garrett era, such as moving Zach Martin to right tackle. That was unheard of under the old regime. So with Dak, Dak came in with better off-balance throws. He came in maneuvering around that pocket, which helped his bad offensive line. I would say Dak finally arrived in terms of a pocket feel and presence of what Deshaun Watson walked into the league with, you know, and everybody who know the Texans know that Deshaun Watson is his most dangerous when he's improvising and when he escapes the pocket, right? So Dak finally put that in his game. So Andy Dalton, what didn't have that game one. So protecting him now gives him a chance to go ahead and throw the ball because he didn't have the maneuvering and the pocket ability that Dak developed, you know? Right. So this is a totally different game now. Also, Coach, I think you hit it dead on the head with the retooling of our defensive front, getting rid of Poe and going ahead and going with the hot guys, which is Antoine Woods and the young guy of Gallimore. Mm-hmm. That really put some real muscle in that middle, which really gave the strength back to our defense because if we couldn't stop the run at all on nobody the first 6 games, similar to the Texans. Right. We was both having almost the exact same issues at the exact same time. We couldn't stop a damn nosebleed, right? But we both made adjustments that are now making the second half a little bit more interesting, you know? I think more so we're going to more than likely win. What you're going to see, though, for sure, is some real ugly, diehard, nasty Cowboy football because one of the heart and souls of a guy is their strength and conditioning coach, whether he was doing a good job or not. Because I didn't like all this. Yeah, he just passed. And, you know, I know this from playing Division I football. Even if you don't like the way that the strength and conditioning coach is working you out, you still appreciate them because a lot of times you make your biggest pro gains based on their guidance. And he's been in the building for years. And so you're not just dealing with a guy that's a newbie. You're dealing with a guy who worked with Jalen Smith in knee rehab and worked with a lot of the guys to get ready. And when they have breakouts and when they looking good and they look in the mirror, it's usually because of the strength and conditioning coach. So it's obviously not like losing a head coach that you really endear to, but this is just almost in that same picture. So I think it's going to be an emotional game for Dallas. And I think that is going and a revenge game for Dallas because remember they knocked out Andy. He was gone ever since that game. Mm-hmm. Both teams showing up with a sense of playoff destiny. I think this going to be probably the ugliest, nastiest scrap fight that we go see. Mm-hmm. Like hands down, I think it's going to be a scrap. I think that offensive line retool. And this is one thing I want to say about Zeke, and I'm done. This is not a good game for Zeke to pound him. Because I do know that we are better when we run the ball, but strategically, like Zeke is a body puncher, but that work well unless you got an 8-pack. And the Redskins, they front is a 9-pack.
Yeah, they team.
Yeah.
They're literally built to counter us. They invested years and years of first rounders to beat that big offensive line that we prided ourselves in for years. So historically, Zeke don't run well on these guys. So I don't even want us to go into this game as if Zeke is going to be the guy to rescue us. I think we need more misdirection in Pollard than pounding and grounding. Because I think if we go in there with ground and pound, we're going to be playing into their hands. It's going to make our offense one-dimensional. It's going to make Andy have to make long third down throws. It's going to put us against the A-ball going in with that strategy. So if we don't have a lot of misdirection and go ahead and say, let's air it out on these guys and get the ball out of his hands, they go walk us again.
Look for Zeke to get a lot of screen action in this game. I think I think they're going to probably try to take advantage of the aggressive nature of that defense, especially with Chase and them boys coming at you. Look, I agree with you about the ground and pound thing, but definitely just getting him touches. As long as he eating, he don't care how he eat.
Excellent point. I can't fight that.
That's true.
That's perfect wisdom on how to to attack them. I agree.
But also another thing that Dallas has done in the last couple of weeks, they're starting to put Puller in there a little bit, here and there, and get him get Zeke a couple breaks here and there. Where it used to be last coaching staff had Zeke in there almost every down, and now Puller is out there. He'll go out there and get 2 or 3 carries, and then come back in with Zeke, things like that. So I mean. Excellent points, Boss Cowboy.
They actually even brought it up. They mentioned how, Zeke's getting a break, and then they would cut screen over to Zeke getting that break, and so I think that's smarter of your offensive coordinator and coaching to say we're gonna get the best production on Zeke if we mix it up instead of just forcing every run play through him and then tiring him down when it's the line that's affecting his ability to get more yards.
Right.
Because we know it's not his style of play that's the issue. But also this past game was his longest run. So I think that's a good momentum to build from as well. The unfortunate thing for me when it comes to Dallas is that I want you to lose because I want the ownership to understand the value of Dak.
Yes.
And put it on paper.
Right.
But I don't want a team to lose for the sake of losing.
Right.
I put, unfortunately, Andy in my category with the step above the Bortles, right? He's not Bortles, so I'm not saying they're the same. I'm definitely gonna say a step above.
Right.
But he was always pretty much in a comfortable position in Cincy. He never really had to do much. Dak had to do much and still came up short. Right. Andy just had to play football, and he was a game manager. You don't have exciting memories with plays when you think of Andy, of him having to win the game. I mean, once again, your favorite travel girl is going to remind you, we went into Cincinnati on Monday Night Football as the Texans, and we beat Andy and them, and they were undefeated at the time.
Yeah, TJ Yates.
That's right. TJ Yates was a Cincy killer because he came in after a concussion. A concussion took out Hoyer. So he had to come in and save the day.
Yeah.
Of course, with a great hot play. Let's have a moment of silence and get the win. But at the end of the day, I just don't see anything is going to be spectacular tomorrow about Andy. We're not going to be having this conversation about him having a exceptional Thanksgiving Day game. I expect the game to be really about the play of Zeke and your defense.
Yeah.
And the good consistency part about that is you really haven't had much time in between that you didn't have Alex Smith. So you guys are still familiar with that quarterback play. You don't have it's not like Alex hasn't been around long enough to where you're lacking film. Now, I got so excited about tomorrow.
I definitely want to talk about Alex because Alex get a bad rap, man. Alex is one of the most winningest ass quarterbacks.
He's solid.
He's solid as hell.
Yeah.
Took San Fran to 2 NFC championships. Yeah. Even when Kaepernick took his spot, he was 5-1. If you look at his first 8 games and compare it to Mahomes' first 8 games, he outperformed.
They were almost
Yeah, he outperformed in passing rating, touchdowns, yards, almost everything. He doesn't go downfield a lot, but see, that's also underrated. It's like most people like popcorn football for excitement over what wins, and it's a bad rap on game management in itself. So the person that's been a game manager his whole damn career has been Tom Brady with occasional deep ball throws. But when it win you championships, that called GOAT. But then you look at basically, I'm saying all that to say Alex Smith dangerous as hell.
And I
Like so,
agree.
yeah, he's
Because the game he got hurt in, they were in that game, and pretty much him going out the game changed the dynamic, even from mostly from a mental standpoint of what we saw in person. It was just tough for everybody, even for the Texans. I mean, the JJ, everybody was just kind of shook up, and I agree with you, and that's why I don't think that at this stage of it that Washington's out of it.
No,
It's not an easy give to Dallas. I mean,
and see, Grant, this is what I was saying before you cut out for a second. This division is sneaky, man. We won 2 championships from 97 teams, and I'm talking about the Giants. Freaking Philly won a Super Bowl with a backup QB. Like, this is a gritty ass division. So you'll look like 3-7 shit. Be Pat, I echo you 1,000%. I think they dropped the ball greatly on how they treated Hoskins. They treated him like trash. They didn't give him his time to develop. But I always was looking at the Redskins like we all look at our rivals like, if they get a damn quarterback, the league in trouble because that D is nice.
They've always had a decent defense, decent or more above average defense. So,
now they defense,
that's what I'm saying. The quarterback.
Like, if you look at the fact that they got Sweat, who ran a freaking 4.4, then you turn around and follow up with the other freakish, I don't even want to say his name,
Chase
Young.
Boom.
99.
Got that, and they young.
99 in your program.
Jesus Christ. And they don't really hit their stride to year 3. These guys in year 2, year 1. So they got a quarterback now that can manage wins. Bro, the whole league better be kind of like keeping a side eye on what might be going on. And their weapons starting to develop. They running back. That dude ran a 4.340. Like, say they got some stuff over there. So, like, the record can, to your point, Grant, can fool you with this team. They'll walk up on you and, So I'm expecting a dogfight. And I said this on the podcast show I did earlier today. This game tomorrow is gonna be about destiny. Like, literally. Like, this game is gonna be like, okay, which one of us is gonna be picking in the top 10 based on this game? Which one of us gonna be trying to have a potential playoff run based on this game? This is an early Thanksgiving playoff game. Kick your feet up, get your popcorn, get your drink. It's finna be a good one.
I believe that. And I think I was so ready for it to be a good one. I skipped a game, Carolina versus Minnesota, and we're not even gonna really talk about it much. I'm just gonna give a shout out because when we did have the brief moment of the XFL, the QB in Carolina was strolling through. I mean, he was kicking butt in XFL. So shout out to that. Okay, and so I never really am like diehard ready to pick Cousins over anybody anyway. It's usually when it comes down to him, it is matchups of what does the team look like. So D Jones and I are going with Carolina. B Pat, I couldn't get your pick, so you got to tell me, are you going with Boss Cowboy who's going Minnesota, or are you riding with me and D Jones?
I'm going Minnesota.
You need to go somewhere because in last place you kind of need to try to do something.
Hey, I'm telling you, if McCaffrey was playing, I'll go that way. But McCaffrey's not playing.
Put that.
Hey, you can put that back up.
Put that back up. Put that back up.
I'm coming at
Put that back up.
Hey, Minnesota is gonna win this game.
Using that.
This will be a field goal. This will be a field goal game.
Yeah, wait. So let's give a shout out to D Jones for being.
Stop.
Let's give a shout out to D Jones for being in first place. But we gonna also give a shout out to we know most of the reason why my percentage is a little lower doesn't mean it would be higher than D Jones, but it's a little lower because I am selfishly always picking the home team when I shouldn't. And except last week, it worked for me into my
But you
advantage.
apologize. But you apologize.
And
for
I
that.
apologize. So, and I felt bad about it all week. So it is what it is.
She
And
did.
then, and secondly, you
And
know,
at least you did it publicly.
hey, I'm a publicly and privately come for you in last place. So you better chill. But what I also know that D Jones can back me on is I'm really good at picks. Cause D Jones done made some money off me with that support on them picks. So I may be enjoying this time with you guys and my picks, and sometimes it may shade. But when it's time to make money, D Jones, do we make money?
We make money.
Make money.
Money
So
on everything.
let's make sure Boss Cowboy makes some money. Boss Cowboy, we didn't even get to mention your book. So before we go, I would like you to mention your book, how they can get it, when you plan to do the next one. Talk to us about your podcast because, yes, we know you guys feel like you are America. And you're a team in America. You thought I was going to say it, but I'm not. No. And it's important that people know where they can find you and your show. So I would love for you to basically tell the listeners and watchers about that before we close out tonight.
Yeah, so Boss Cowboy Sports is the brand that was built about a year and a half ago. People don't know this, but Gran has been my secret accountability partner, pushing me towards different goals and stratospheres. So definitely thank you for that. The book that I write every year is the Boss Cowboy Off-Season Guide. It's something that I also recommend if you're into the draft. You don't have to be a Cowboy fan to get a lot of draft knowledge from it, because I break down about 70 to 80 players that are steals, right? So if you're trying to go to a guide to try to figure out the safety that's pick 8 from Hawaii, don't buy my guide. But if you're trying to find that third round sleeper safety that you might be looking for the Texans, then that'll be a good purchase. Now, a good thing also about it is I committed to doing this for 4 years, mainly because I want to go into free agency with a guide as a reference, and people should go along with that journey. Because if you go along with that journey, you're going to be a very knowledgeable fan. Because people trolling the Texans right now because they don't have a first round pick, a second round pick. But
the draft is made where? Tell them. I'm waiting.
No,
drop it. You about to drop that knowledge. Go ahead. I was excited because I know you about to drop it.
Well, I get excited about round 3, round 4, round 5, 6, 7 too.
Say it again.
Yeah. Like, and honestly, if anybody know the history of the Texans, their best picks have been round 3, 4, 5, 6 in the first. They kill on the first, they don't hit on the second generally, but the third, fourth, fifth, shit, y'all need to hire Rick Smith back. Straight up, because he was doing a real good job. Let the record be told in hindsight. Rick, I'm telling the truth. So yeah, Boss Cowboy Sports Guide is a reason why you want to definitely support that. So I'm actually writing it now. I'll be done by the Super Bowl. I already made a goal to finish all the players. I already finished safeties. I already finished corners. So if you go to my page, I'm going to start leaking out these sleepers. And I'm going to do a lot of work as much as I can with the Gran, because I just love her football knowledge and I love her character. I just met D Jones and B Pat. I want to do this obviously again, but definitely you can support Boss Cowboy Sports on my page on Facebook especially. And I do have a new podcast that'll be launching in about a week. My co-host had COVID, or we would have launched after my birthday, which was the 22nd, and we would have launched on the 23rd. So everything is ready. It's fancy. Gran, you got to come. You go do a show with me. And no no's. You can't say no, homie. Sorry. No. You know. And
how did you know I'm good at saying no?
I know. I see you, homie. I see you. But you can't say no. You help me too much. I'm sorry. You just can't. You know what I mean? So we go talk sports.
Yeah. I'm surprised you told that, because I would have never told that, I be secretly. I don't tell who I help. Like, they didn't even know that. I didn't even tell them that. I just told them you were a great Cowboys fan. That's it.
But it's one of those things to where if anybody peep game on Gran loves to help people. Like I know I'm not the only one because I see how so many people come back and say, Grand helped me, supported me. I see it all the time with you, Grand, you know, and you're not a hater. People that peep game know Grand is no hater. Like, as much as I go back and forth on trolls, I've never had a troll war with my homie. Never. Because that ain't our spirit at all. She the only one that really, or one of the few that really know that I'm really Texas. I'm a Texas guy. Now, if I'm going at you, I'm gonna go at you hard, but in my heart, I love Texas teams. Like I be rooting for the Texas low key when they outside. Now, if they come to my house, you know it's gonna be like,
Right.
I
We
don't
we
know
talk
you.
about that all the time.
Right,
All the time.
but it's love. I got so much Texas love, man. I broke my shoulder playing for U of H. I broke my other shoulder playing for Dallas Carter. So I done broke bones for both cities.
You put that on a shirt.
So I got
Right.
love and definitely follow Boss Cowboy, and y'all just continue to support Graham, the whole ride, support D Jones and B Pat, support as they get more super chats and donations, put money in their pockets, do all of that. Because I'm gonna tell you one thing that the Texans absolutely need that you getting on the Grand is a voice, and it ain't that many voices for the Texans, but you got some people now that's gonna bring it to you and tell you that honest truth that it ain't no checks coming in their pocket to influence their opinion. So when
Correct.
you gotta respect that on the podcast level, because that's where the podcast is really where the truth is.
Now that I agree. And so we gonna sign off and thank you again. You know, hey, I know you didn't get the book in time for Turkey Day. My book is perfect stocking stuffer. You can always stock your stuffing and or your stocking stuff your stocking. Hey, I didn't say I was good at those words.
Either way,
Either way,
it works.
stuff that book.
Stuff something.
Stuff it. No, I don't. No, don't say stuff something. Stuff the book.
Stuff something.
But anyway, get the book in time for Christmas because we still have plenty of football to play. This is when it gets good. See, I don't even understand.
Yeah.
We the first couple of weeks, 12 weeks, even minus COVID, is we're figuring out teams. You know, hell, they figuring out each other because they didn't even really have a true preseason. So now it's down to the gritty. I mean, of course, teams will fall week to week, but like Marcus said, tomorrow's the start of who is really about to take off in this NFC East.
Yep.
Who wants it bad enough? And so with that, remember you can always visit thegransberry.com. I'm always the Gransberry on social media, but D Jones is going to tell you where you can find him.
You can hit me at DJones9804 on Instagram or that boy at D Jones on Twitter.
B Pat, you know you always at the bottom because you stay in last place and you like to stay consistently behind. So make sure you tell the people how they can catch up to you since that's the only time you in the lead.
Nice thought.
Coach B Pat. Coach B Pat at Coach B Pat on Instagram and Twitter. I had to laugh on that one.
Yeah, it was a good one, huh? I know. Well, as always, guys, we love you and thank you for joining us. I am always the Gransberry. Everywhere I keep it consistent, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. If you are interested in following the podcast, you can follow it at the Gransberry Chronicles. Or if you go to my page, you'll still be directed to the podcast. Hey. And at that point, I hope you enjoy tomorrow. If you know me, you already know, don't send me a group text, but I'm going to speak for those out there who really don't want to tell you the truth. Nobody wants a group text, even for the holidays. Quit being lazy. Send individual texts. And you know what's sadder? I know you know how to do it. Because when you send in multiple texts to women or men, you surely don't send it in a group text.
Where
You know how to copy and paste. If you know how to, if you send good morning beautiful, You know how to send Happy Thanksgiving separately. If you know how to ask if you got $40, you know how to send separate Happy Thanksgiving.
Man,
So
you ain't have me working like that. No.
well, then keep it. Keep it. Keep it.
Did you say
Keep
the
it.
energy just increased?
Hey, listen,
'Cause
it all depends, right? Sure.
What does it depend on? Because it don't depend over
Listen,
here.
no, listen, it depends. If you a group, oh, okay. I'm a man of the scriptures. So even Jesus had 3 that was his close ones. 1 he loved. 12 that was in the ministry with him. 500 followers. So if you're in the 500, I might put you in that group. But if you my 3, you get it individual.
The
Is that a
500
good
gonna get
balance or
cussed
what,
out.
Greg? Come on now.
The
Let
whole
me tell you.
500 gonna get a cuss.
The whole 500 gonna get cussed out. And y'all can ask my cousin. I'm gonna send turd emojis. I'm gonna cuss everybody out. Then I'm gonna block all of you and leave you with all of that. I don't like group text. I don't need to know anything in a group. I wasn't born in a group. Okay? So, and when you get a death certificate, it's only you on there, no group. So, do not put me in anything with a group. And I'm calm, just so y'all know. I'm calm and excited about tomorrow. I don't think I'm going to have that problem. I'm just trying to help the people who not willing to tell y'all the truth. Because sometimes you can save a friend by telling the truth. And I'm just saying.
Good point.
Amen.
That's it. And on that point,
All right.
catch you next time.
Pass the collection plate.
Peace.